When I was a kid, I saw my parents drink all the time. They were often too drunk to look after me, and half the time they didn't even know I was there. I'd take myself to bed and I'd think about that. Do other kids' parents drink as much as mine? Hurt people, that's what they say, isn't it? I grew up with problems all around me. I was young, I was drunk, and I was just sad, truth be told, and angry, scared, aggressive. I could feel it build up inside of me, like a storm. It wouldn't go away. It wasn't long before I found myself inside. This was my first stint in prison, and I was in and out for the next 40 years. My life nearly turned around more times than I can count. I thought marriage might save me, and it did for a while. I was stable, still drinking mind, and dealing drugs to pay for it, but stable. Then it collapsed, just like everything else. Divorced, back to square one, and it only got worse from there. I ended up living one of those lives where one more chance turns into God knows how many, and then the chances run out. I moved to London for a bit, and I was dealing everything. Cocaine, ecstasy, whatever I could get my hands on. Not just dealing, but using too. Before I knew it, I was doing heroin, daily. It's not like you don't want to turn your life around. It's just that every door you go to gets slammed in your face. You try to get a flat, but no one wants you as a tenant if you're using. Any money you do have tends to go on drugs or alcohol, coping mechanisms. Trying to get better feels impossible. I wasn't eating or sleeping. I was hallucinating frequently. I became suicidal. To be honest, I was barely living anyway. So what difference did it make? It took a long time before I realised why I felt like that. Years, actually. You see, every time I got locked up, I'd think, right, that's it, sort yourself out. I had to go cold turkey. That was hell. The problem was that I already felt alone on the outside, and now I'm in a cell, still alone, only I haven't got any drugs. And I need drugs. I can't do this. I have to do this, but I really can't do this. All this is going through your mind, plus everything else you've been through over the years, and you can't say anything. Don't say anything. Can't admit that you're depressed, anxious, shaking in your cell at night. There isn't any mental health support on offer, or if there is, I can't find it. There are some good things inside, training and courses. They help you pass the time. I did an MVQ in plastering, but when I was out, I couldn't just walk into a job, could I? You're not suddenly an employed plasterer and everything's great. You go inside with issues. You're released with issues. They aren't fixed when you're in there. Nothing is addressed or sorted. That's the real problem. You go in, serve your time, get released, go back to what you were doing before, because often you walk out of the prison with nowhere to go, no accommodation. Then it's back to being turned down from services because you're under the influence. Can't get mental health support until you're off the substances. Taking substances to cope with your mental health issues, it's a vicious circle. When you finally get the support you need, you almost can't believe it. I found support with Double Impact in Nottingham City. They help people recover from addiction. I had more than addiction going on though, and they suggested I contact Opportunity Nottingham. Finally, after over 40 years, I started getting the support I needed. Opportunity Nottingham helped me understand my problems and learn to accept myself, my past, and also think about the positives. I want to see a system that actually supports people and puts their mental health first. I've been there and I know what makes a difference. It's not practical skills or learning what to say at a job interview or any of that. It's the small things. It's letting people know that there's help out there. When you're at rock bottom, that's what's actually needed. You have to fix yourself before you can fix your circumstances. Even something as simple as a leaflet under my cell door telling me about mental health support options, that would have made a massive difference. If there was something available to me, I would have gone. I needed someone to speak to. With the right help, I'm finally on the path to living a fulfilled life. I want to become a drug support worker and reckon I can do it. It's never too late, but I think it's wrong that I had to wait so long for the right kind of help. So that's my story. It's also the story of many people I've served time with or known on the outside. The sad thing is though, a lot of those people didn't get the help I did. Who knows what the rest of their story is?
Stigma means to me, it's how other people view me. Comments what are made to me or actions what are taken against me. It's how other people view you, and it's usually negative. When I was homeless, I used to get bullied a lot, picked on, robbed. You just looked down on, like you don't exist.
I don't care whether you're the Queen or the pauper, you know what I mean? It is so simple for anybody to become homeless. Yeah, I might be sitting in the doorway with a quilt over me. Yeah, I might be living, but I will find somewhere where I can wash myself. Because when people look down their nose at you, you know you're better than that. When you see people coming out with all their Harrods bags and the, you know, John Lewis shopping bags, and everybody's happy at Christmas, and you're thinking, do you know something? I used to live that life. I used to be that person.
I don't think anyone should be judged. You are what you are. You are a human being at the end of the day. We're all in the same world, and basically, never judge a book by its cover, because what's on the outside is not what's necessarily on the inside, and vice versa.
Look at your own life, because everybody's got faults. But, you know, you can't just judge somebody for one merit. You know, you have to look at the whole person.
You walk past somebody in a doorway with a blanket around them. Yeah, they're just like a bum, or they're just wanting to score their next hit or next drink or whatever it may be. But it's not like that. If you ever try to actually sleep on the streets, you don't sleep. You don't sleep because you're afraid.
Yesterday, I got told, yeah, you're looking well, that I was doing well, and then half an hour later or something later, someone says, oh, you're looking a bit rough. And it's like, wow, sometimes you get told you're looking all right, so it bubbles you up, and then you get pulled down, it's like, oh, wow. And then you start to think, and you dwell on them thoughts.
We're all individual, we've all got our own problems, our own quirks, our own faults, but at the end of the day, we're all human. So we all feel pain, we all bleed.
The amount of people that always say to me, what the fuck are you doing sitting there? Nobody wants to be there. You don't go come out of school and you go to your career advice worker and say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh yeah, I want to be a pisshead and living in a doorway. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be using them drugs. You don't want to be using that alcohol. You don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be begging. You don't want. But unfortunately, you got nowhere else to be.
If they took 5 minutes of their day to actually talk to me, they wouldn't have that view.
You walk a mile in my shoes, my friend. Then you can come back and see what it feels like.
Bruises and broken bones heal, but words stick with you for a long, long while.
I remember back then, there was a lack of support. There wasn't enough coming from social services. My family was broken, arguing all the time, falling out. We just weren't functional. And I had no one to help me, no one to turn to. So I turned to alcohol. I started to feel not worthy and I ended up on the streets at 16 working as a prostitute for a while. And then I met my first partner. He didn't turn out to be so great. He was abusive, controlling. But I was with him for over 12 years and we had a son. Things became a nightmare when he hit me. A lot of people think, oh, it's so easy, let's walk out of this abuse, but it's not easy. It doesn't work like that. They don't get the manipulation. They don't get the things they do just to keep you there. You're left doubting all the time. Was it really that bad? Was I making a mountain out of a molehill in that incident? Or being a drama queen? I barely touched you, or I only slapped you, not stabbed you with a knife. It's the way that they do it, belittling and making you doubt yourself. So when people are out there going, oh, just walk off. No, it's not that easy. It's not. If you haven't got the right support in place or family you can rely on or friends, you always end up back where you started. And then he just left me and my son to get on with things. So then my mental health got worse. Social services were always involved over the years, but they never offered so much support. It was always, you must do this, you must do that. If you don't do this, we'll take your son away. And they did. They took him and just left me there with no support, nowhere to go. It was a friend that came to my rescue, but my life just fell apart. I couldn't stay on a settee for the rest of my life. Where do I go? There was nothing. One night we was drinking. We started talking about me going to work in a brothel to earn some money, and that's how it started. Addiction to drugs started. I started drinking more. I was being abused in my job. I needed the money, but I was being traumatised all the time. And still no real support, nothing. I got into trouble with shoplifting. Then I lost my second flat because I couldn't pay my rent on time. It just got worse. I met guys that were worse than my ex-partner. Abuse, drugs, drinking, family breakup. My mental health was in a very serious way. I didn't want to live anymore or carry on, so I tried to end my life. I was discharged from hospital and ended up back in Wolverhampton and stayed with my mum and sometimes my sister. But I was so mentally unstable and they had problems of their own, so I disappeared and ended up living in a brothel in Birmingham where my drug and trauma got worse. I let my family down, including my son and daughter. Drugs got worse, and I was so desperate I went back to my ex-partner thinking it would be the answer, but it wasn't. It hit me that I had to leave him, but I still didn't trust the services. I was still prostituting, living in another working girl's home, but that wasn't safe because her boyfriend was beating her and stuff, and that was re-triggering. I had no lock on my door, so they were coming into my room and stuff, and I thought to myself, you know, I'm in trouble here. So I went to POW, and that was my turning point. They support women in my situation and were really helpful. They helped me claim benefits, which I hadn't done for years. They pushed me to go for housing and get my GP sorted out, told me to keep going and that one door closes but another one will open. But it's really hard work because you're in a desperate situation. You don't want to lose your place at the brothel. I didn't want to be seen as a troublemaker. It's just what it's done to women in that sort of environment. It's important that women are kept safe. It's not their fault, and no client should come through that door to come to abuse you. They put me in a mixed hostel, which just made my mental health worse. I got used. It was my nature. I was a working girl and I was an addict. To me, I was nobody at the time. But I came to a breaking point where, I had a breakdown. I thought, I can't do this. I've got to sort my life out. I can't live like this anymore. So I opened up to a member of staff and they got me moved to a women's hostel. But I felt isolated and everything was catching up with me, reflecting on what had been happening over the years. But a team of support workers were addressing my drinking at the time. I was going to recovery college and I got moved from out of the women's hostel into one of the shared accommodation houses to be more independent. There was a point where I stopped drinking altogether, stopped doing drugs, sorted out my benefits and seeing what I was entitled to. Generally addressing my mental health. Well, some of it I wasn't ready for it. But I managed to stop sex working. I could say, I'm not coming back, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I want a life now. It was so important to help me make positive changes. But I know there is a future for me. I know there is. There's time to make even more changes. I want to help make things better because I went there. I went there for women. And if that was there for me at the time when I lost my house, my life could have been different. As far as services go, I want to see more progress and better communication to help you through abuse or anything traumatic like that. I want to see families approach it together. That would have helped back then. It is what it is today, but it could have been something else if the support was there and the right services. That's why I want to talk about it. I think it's very important now to get as many voices out there and we'll get services to do what they should be doing, because the life I've had should never be a life for any female. At the moment, I'm sorting out my medication, the drinking, sorted out my budgeting. When I'm ready, which is brewing up, I will start tackling the flat and then I can get back to a routine. It was hard for me doing all the stuff I've done, but I did it. I felt like walking away, but I've stuck to it. There were painful moments, but it's like they say, it always gets worse before it gets better. I don't feel the things in my past are really hurting me anymore. It's not impacting or making me feel low. I am slowly patching my relationship up with my family. My mental health is a bit more stable and I continue to heal. It's like, never give up.